Imagine taking an 80,000-pound machine, right? You're cruising along, and then you have to bring it to a complete dead stop.
Right. Just to literally roll down a window.
Exactly. You stop to throw like $3 in quarters into a plastic basket. And then you end up burning a whole gallon of diesel just to get that massive rig back up to highway speed.
Which is just wild to think about today.
It totally is. But for decades, that was the literal backbone of American logistics. Just a jarring manual halt to the entire economy just to collect a toll.
Yeah. And the friction of that moment, it wasn't just physical. The evolution from tossing coins in a basket to today's cloud-based logistics, it didn't happen because someone just wanted a sleeker dashboard on their computer.
Right. It was out of necessity.
Completely. It happened because the supply chain was basically suffocating under the weight of its own administrative chaos.
Yeah.
Like the physical trucks were moving, but the back office was completely paralyzed.
Well, welcome to our deep dive. For you listening today, it is Thursday, 2026-04-23. And we are pulling from a really fascinating industry article today titled Efficiency on the Road, Modern Toll and Bypass Management.
It's a great piece. Really digs into the nuts and bolts.
It really does. And our mission today is to explore how this mind-numbingly mundane act, paying a highway toll, how that secretly evolved into this massive AI-driven logistics network that essentially dictates the modern supply chain.
Yeah, it's a hidden world for sure.
Okay, let's unpack this, because commercial trucking runs on razor-thin margins. We aren't talking about like a family road trip here.
Oh, definitely not.
Every single second a commercial truck is stopped, and every penny spent on operational friction can literally bankrupt a fleet.
Yeah, and to understand the cutting-edge, predictive software we use today in 2026, you really have to look at the historical bottleneck that forced the industry's hand in the first place.
The coins in the basket.
Right, manual tolls. But then, when early electronic toll collection was introduced, those basic RFID transponders we've all seen mounted to windshields?
Yeah, the little white boxes.
Exactly. When those came out, everyone assumed the problem was solved.
Because the truck didn't have to stop anymore.
Right. It could just roll through the gantry at highway speeds. Physical bottleneck solved.
But solving that physical bottleneck just created a massive digital traffic jam.
A total nightmare.
Like the trucks were moving faster, but suddenly the back office accounting teams were dealing with an absolute mess of fragmented data.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to look at the back-end legacy systems of these various toll authorities.
Okay, lay that out for us.
So as electronic tolling spread, you had different states, different municipal counties, and private highway operators all building their own completely localized infrastructure.
So they weren't talking to each other.
Not at all. They were using different data formats, different legacy government servers, and entirely different billing cycles. Yeah, so a single truck driving from, say, New York to Chicago was triggering API calls across half a dozen completely incompatible networks.
I mean, it's almost like trying to use a New York subway card on a London bus, a Tokyo train, and a Parisian taxi.
That's a great way to put it.
And all on the same afternoon, while a dispatcher back in Chicago tries to calculate the currency exchange rate in real time.
Right, while blindfolded.
Exactly. You cut the cord to get away from the physical toll booth, and suddenly you have to manage 50 different administrative portals.
And you have to install specialized regional hardware in the cab for different states.
Right. And then reconcile thousands of mismatched digital invoices every single month. It's like the early days of streaming services.
Oh, how so?
Well, where instead of just having one simple cable bill, suddenly you had to manage 50 different subscriptions, passwords, and billing dates.
Oh, yeah. The subscription fatigue.
Yes. It causes massive chaos at home, but imagine that on a corporate scale.
Yeah, the administrative overhead just became completely unsustainable.
I can imagine.
You had accounting teams literally drowning in spreadsheets. They were trying to manually cross-reference an invoice from the Pennsylvania Turnpike with a completely separate bill from the Ohio Department of Transportation.
Just a sea of paperwork.
And dealing with batch processing delays, too, where tolls from a Tuesday wouldn't even show up in the system until the following Monday.
Which is insane for a business.
It is. You can't run a low-margin logistics business when you don't even know what your operational costs were for the week until 10 days later.
Which naturally forces the industry to pivot.
They had no choice.
They desperately needed a unified aggregator, which is where a platform like PrePass enters the chat.
Yeah, PrePass was a game changer.
We're looking at an absolute behemoth of a centralized platform now. I mean, they are serving over 100,000 fleets and 700,000 drivers across North America in 2026.
It's massive.
They essentially built a universal translation layer for all of these disparate regional systems, right?
Exactly. PrePass stepped in to provide a single, unified interface. They integrated all of those fragmented toll APIs into one cohesive dashboard.
Which must have been a relief.
Oh, hugely. And they combined payment management and way station bypass compliance into the exact same workflow.
Wow, both at once.
Yeah. Suddenly, a fleet manager had a unified view of their entire operations footprint in real time across state lines.
Wait, hold on. Let me push back on this a bit because I think it's the obvious question for anyone listening.
Sure, go for it.
If the root issue was 50 different states running 50 different fragmented toll systems, why didn't the government just standardize this? Like, why didn't the Federal Highway Administration mandate a universal standard?
It's a fair question.
Why did a third-party private platform become the industry standard instead of some federal protocol?
Well, the reality is that state departments of transportation are fundamentally civil engineering entities, right?
Okay, yeah. They build roads.
Exactly. They build roads. They aren't agile tech startups. Building and maintaining a universally synchronized, high-availability cloud infrastructure.
That's a lot of tech jargon, but yeah, building a massive server network.
Right. To aggregate petabytes of interstate data requires immense capital and continuous software development. State agencies just don't want to manage that massive tech stack.
So what do they actually want?
What they want is compliance, safety monitoring, and guaranteed toll revenue.
Ah, the money.
Always the money. So PrePass operates as a public-private partnership, which essentially solves the problem for both sides.
Okay, that makes sense.
The government agencies get their compliance flags and automated revenue collection without having to build a massive national data center.
And the private fleets.
The fleets get their single interface and commercial efficiency. It's a win-win.
So it's like a symbiotic data exchange.
Hmm?
The platform sits right in the middle, intimately wired into the government databases, but delivering pure commercial utility to the private fleets.
Beautifully said. That's exactly it.
And that utility is staggering when you look at the raw numbers from the source material. Take J&M tank lines.
Oh, that's a great case study.
After they implemented PrePass Plus, this unified system, they recorded 14,000 bypasses in a single year.
Which is incredible. And just to clarify for the listener, a bypass means the back-end software verifies the truck's weight and safety credentials instantaneously as it approaches the way station.
So the truck doesn't even have to slow down.
Right. It's electronically cleared to just roll right past the inspection facility.
The financial ripple effect of simply not stopping 14,000 times is wild.
It really adds up.
Get this. For you listening, think about this ROI. J&M saved $152,000 in raw operational costs.
Wow.
They saved $37,000 just in diesel fuel.
Because they aren't idling?
Exactly. They eliminated the idling and the massive acceleration required to get an 80,000-pound tank back up to 65 miles per hour.
That takes a lot of fuel.
But the metric that really stands out to me, they reclaimed 2,400 driver hours.
Yeah, and you really cannot understate the value of those 2,400 hours.
Why is that the biggest deal?
Well, the commercial trucking industry is rigidly governed by hours of service regulations. A driver can only be on duty and driving for a highly specific, legally mandated window each day.
So they're basically always racing the clock.
Exactly. When a driver is sitting in a line at a way station for 45 minutes, that is productive transit time just burning away on the clock.
Oh, man. That's money out the window.
Literally. So handing a fleet manager 2,400 reclaimed hours, it's like handing them an extra 100 days of active revenue-generating transit time.
And they didn't even have to hire a single new driver or buy a new truck.
Nope. Just pure efficiency.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because once you have all this unified data flowing through a central platform, you realize you can do a lot more than just pay the bills.
Oh, for sure.
You can actually start auditing the people sending you the bills.
The shift from being a passive payment processor to an active geospatial auditor.
Wait, but if the truck already has an RFID tag mounted on the windshield, why do we need a secondary geospatial audit at all?
That's the logical next question.
Right. Like the tag pings the gantry, the toll gets paid, what is left to audit?
Because the physical infrastructure fails constantly.
Really? Just standard glitches?
More than just glitches. RFID gantries and automated license plate readers are far from perfect. Let's say a truck is driving in the far right lane of a highway, right? And a toll scanner accidentally casts its radio frequency beam just a little too wide.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah, it might read the transponder of a truck in the adjacent express lane that isn't even supposed to be tolled.
So it's charging the wrong truck.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Or an optical camera misreads a dirty license plate and assigns a violation to a completely wrong fleet.
That sounds like a nightmare to sort out.
It was. Historically, the trucking company would just pay the invoice, because the administrative cost of proving the truck wasn't there was higher than the $50 tool itself.
It's cheaper to just swallow the cost, but now the platform is tracking the truck's actual GPS breadcrumb trail.
Exactly. The system is constantly pulling high-frequency location data. It draws a digital geofence around every single physical toll plaza in the country,
So it knows exactly where the truck is.
down to the meter. When the toll authority's API sends an invoice claiming, truck crossed this gantry in Ohio at 2:15 p.m., the software instantly cross-references that claim against the truck's GPS log.
And if they don't match?
If the GPS proves that specific truck was physically 400 miles away in Indiana at 2:15 p.m., the system automatically flags the charge as a ghost toll.
Ghost tolls. That is fascinating.
It catches the hallucinated charge before the money ever even leaves the account.
There is a case study from the article about a mid-sized fleet that turned on this automated geospatial verification.
Yeah, that's a mind-blowing example.
Within just a few months, they uncovered a massive pattern of systemic billing errors. It turned out the regional toll authority had incorrect transponder hardware registered to the wrong vehicles in their legacy database.
Just a massive clerical error on the government side.
Right. And because the GPS audit caught the discrepancy automatically, this mid-size fleet reduced their toll-related disputes by over 60%.
60%. And a 60% reduction in disputes fundamentally changes how a back office functions.
I mean, that's huge.
You no longer need an entire floor of accountants spending their afternoons on hold with regional highway authorities, trying to manually contest $40 charges with printed spreadsheets.
So what happens instead?
The software packages the GPS proof, formally contests the API call with a toll authority, and resolves the dispute without a human ever even touching it.
Which perfectly sets up the final leap in this technological evolution.
Oh yeah, the AI.
Because once your GPS data and your toll data are perfectly synchronized and your geospatial auditor has scrubbed the data clean of all those ghost tolls and errors,
You now possess a pristine, massive, historical data set.
and what do we do with massive clean data sets in 2026?
We feed them into the routing AI.
Yes, moving from historical auditing to pure predictive optimization.
Exactly.
Let's break down the actual technology stack here, because the integration is brilliant. For you listening, it's basically like taking a consumer app like Waze.
Right, which we all use.
But instead of just showing you a red line indicating traffic ahead, it has a highly sophisticated financial brain attached to it.
Yeah, it calculates the precise, real-time dollar value of every possible turn you could make across an entire continent.
Which is just staggering.
To achieve that, you need multiple layers of technology communicating seamlessly.
Yeah.
You have the physical RFID hardware identifying the vehicle.
Right.
You have the GPS layer providing constant spatial awareness. You have the cloud environment processing the API streams from municipal toll authorities.
That's a lot of moving parts.
And finally, the artificial intelligence running the optimization models. The pinnacle of this integration is what we see with platforms like DataTruck and TollGuru communicating directly with a fleet's transportation management system.
Okay, so put yourself in the dispatcher seat for a second. Historically, you'd punch in move load A from Chicago to Atlanta.
Right.
The software gives you the mileage, and you just sort of accept whatever the tolls end up being along that standard interstate route. How does this new AI integration actually change that daily workflow?
The AI completely flips the workflow. Before the load is ever even assigned, the routing engine pulls in live weather data, historical traffic patterns, current fuel prices across different states.
Wait, it checks real-time fuel prices too.
Oh, absolutely. And the exact API pricing for every toll gantry along multiple possible routes. It runs thousands of Monte Carlo simulations instantly.
Like thousands of what-if scenarios.
Exactly. It might look at a major toll road that costs $45. Then it calculates a bypass route that avoids the toll entirely, but maybe it adds 18 miles to the trip.
And it has to figure out if driving those extra 18 miles is actually cheaper than just paying the $45.
Precisely. And it's not a simple math problem. The system factors in the specific weight of the truck, to determine exactly how many gallons of diesel those extra 18 miles will burn.
Oh, right, because a heavier truck burns more fuel.
It calculates the driver's hourly rate, the wear and tear on the tires, and whether taking the longer route will cause the driver to violate their hours of service limits.
Wow, it checks the legal limits too.
Yeah, it weighs the $45 toll against the exact calculated fuel penalty of the detour and presents the dispatcher with the mathematically perfect financial route before the truck's engine ever starts.
And the ROI on that level of granular pre-dispatch optimization is just, it's staggering.
It really is.
According to the source, we are looking at fleets saving up to $4,000 a week in combined toll and fuel costs.
Just from the AI routing.
Yeah, that is over $200,000 a year for a single fleet. Simply by letting the AI dynamically navigate the economic friction of the highway system.
And don't forget the administrative savings. It comes alongside a 70% reduction in admin time.
Right. And when a fleet reduces its back office admin time by 70%,
Yeah.
it can reinvest that capital into scaling the business rather than just, treading water against operational friction.
Exactly. But, beyond the pure corporate financials, this technology drastically alters the daily physical reality for the humans actually operating the supply chain.
Because at the end of the day, no matter how good the AI is, there is a person sitting in that cab for 11 hours.
Right. And the psychological toll of an unpredictable route is a massive driver of industry turnover.
I can imagine. Just the stress of the unknown.
Every time a driver is forced to pull into a congested weigh station or sit idling at a crowded toll plaza, it violently disrupts their rhythm. It adds localized stress.
What kind of stress?
Well, they're wondering, are they going to get pulled over for a random 2-hour level 1 inspection? Are they going to miss their delivery window because of this delay?
And missing a window means they might not get paid for that run right away, right?
Yeah. By leveraging these integrated platforms to achieve consistent, high-percentage bypass rates, the drivers experience a radically smoother day.
They just get to drive.
Yeah. They maintain predictable schedules, suffer significantly less fatigue from constantly shifting gears, and the industry sees a measurable improvement in driver retention.
And on the flip side, brokers and shippers get that real-time cost tracking, allowing for accurate pricing models and trust-building transparency.
It's good for everyone.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Because this sounds like a corporate utopia, right?
Yeah.
We have a system that perfectly tracks everything, optimizes every penny, eliminates human error, and never sleeps.
Right.
Shippers get transparency, fleets save hundreds of thousands of dollars, and drivers get a smoother ride. But there has to be a catch.
There is always a catch.
In a system this incredibly powerful, who gets penalized? Who gets left behind here?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the catch is engineered directly into the architecture as a feature, not a bug.
Wait, really? As a feature?
Yeah. The weigh station bypass isn't a right, it's a heavily monitored privilege. The entire predictive logistics network is intimately tied to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration databases, as well as state-level safety records.
So the algorithm is actively monitoring the fleet's safety scores.
In real time.
Wow.
To even qualify for the physical transponder that allows a truck to bypass a weigh station, that fleet must maintain a strictly monitored, excellent safety record.
So what happens if they don't?
If a carrier decides to, cut corners on vehicle maintenance, or their drivers start accumulating speeding violations or hours of service infractions, their safety score drops in the federal database.
And then what?
The moment that happens, the system automatically revokes their bypass privileges.
Wow. So the financial efficiency mechanism is simultaneously acting as a brutal public safety enforcement tool.
Exactly. If you are a reckless fleet operating on the fringes, you lose access to the AI routing, you lose access to the automated toll reconciliation, and your trucks are forced to pull into every single weigh station for a manual inspection.
Which burns fuel, kills time, and destroys their margins.
Right. In an industry where the margins are already razor thin, losing access to a software suite that saves your competitors $4,000 a week is basically a death sentence.
It systematically prices bad actors out of the market.
Yep, the technology starves them out.
That is a profound evolution. I mean, what began decades ago as a localized annoyance, a driver literally digging quarters out of a cup holder to throw into a plastic basket at a toll booth.
Right.
It has forced the creation of this massive cloud-based public-private partnership, a system that predicts dynamic costs, audits its own API calls via satellite GPS geofencing, enforces federal highway safety, and ultimately ensures the global supply chain keeps moving.
It touches everything.
So what does this all mean for you? Well, the next time you're sitting on your couch, you click a button on your phone, and that package magically arrives at your doorstep 48 hours later.
Take a second to appreciate it.
Take a second to remember the invisible ballet that made it happen. It wasn't just a truck driving down a piece of asphalt. It was an invisible, highly orchestrated web of RFID tags, geospatial audits, and predictive AI routing running millions of simulations.
All just to make sure your delivery stayed cheap, safe, and exactly on time. This raises an important question, though, and it is something you should absolutely keep an eye on as we move forward.
What's that?
We've just spent this time dissecting how perfectly this technology can track, predict, audit, and charge commercial vehicles based on highly specific routes, municipal congestion, and vehicle weight.
Yeah, it's basically a flawless dragnet.
Right. So if this geospatial AI framework is already operating with this level of flawless precision for commercial fleets, how long until municipal governments adapt this exact same architecture to introduce highly personalized dynamic congestion pricing for everyday passenger cars?
Oh, wow.
Will our own personal daily commutes soon be audited, routed, and dynamically charged by the very same algorithms?
A completely terrifying and absolutely fascinating thought to leave on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.